Hey everybody, welcome back to CryptoBuyology. So my last episode was about the tax implications of crypto and what I found out in my research. And this goes a step further from that, where we're actually talking about, okay, so I now owe a bunch of money in taxes, but I don't have that money in my bank account because I've made a lot of money in crypto, but it's still being invested. So moving that amount of money to a bank account and then paying the IRS is something that proved to be a huge challenge for me. And I'm going to tell you the story that I just went through and I'm still going through. So, my deal with crypto is that my girlfriend and I went in as a partnership. So, our initial capital we split and we invested. And so, I wanted to do the taxes from that standpoint, talk to my CPA. He was like, yeah, you just do a general partnership. And he said, why don't you go ahead and get an EIN number and get a separate checking account for this money so that the IRS can see that you made an effort that's clearly a partnership, and just all of the profits, or when you cash out, all of that money goes into one checking account, and then from there you can disperse it however you see fit. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. Previously, I've only taken out a little bit of money here and there to get our initial investment back, and I've done it just from, just sending to my personal account. So I did that. I got an EIN number. When I was doing that, it asked for a business entity name, and I had not come up with one. This isn't a business; it's just a partnership. So I was like, okay, well, I usually can't do something not creative. So I came up with something that, it means something to me, and you guys probably won't get it, but I call it Seven Diamonds Crypto. And of course, I did it that way, and based on the name, it breaks down to a certain numerology that I wanted to have the frequency of the name so that it attracted money in. And so anyway, I set that up, had that name, and so I went to my bank, which I've had a great partnership with over the last few years. They are a bank that is local to me, but I think it spans 4 or 5 states. It's called First Citizens Bank. I believe most of their branches are in North Carolina. And I have several business accounts with them because I've started a few small businesses here and there, partnerships, doing other podcasts with other people. And so I went there, I sat down with my account rep. We have a good relationship, and we were going through, and she was asking, what is it? I said it's personal finance. I'm not taking anybody else's money. It's just my money going in, and I'm investing in, I told her I invest in cryptocurrency. And she was like, well, it's not, that's not gambling, is it? And I was like, no. Well, I made the mistake of saying, not that it was a mistake, but I was kind of like joking around where I was like, well, it's like stocks. Technically you could consider it gambling because, anybody can make that argument with enough, you could make that argument that crypto or stocks is gambling. Basically you're betting that it's going to go up. You're betting, using that word. So anyway, I just made a joke, and then the energy just got weird, but I think she was okay, and I just said, I just want to let you know, because in the past, if I, in my web development job, sometimes I would get checks, over $5,000, or I'd have a couple of checks that total over $5,000, and she said that sometimes, or I've had this experience where I went to a different bank than my normal branch, and they put a hold on most of my money when I deposited those checks because they were over $5,000. And I told her about it, and she said, well, they don't know you, but if that happens, you can always have them call me, and I can tell them that I know you, and this is perfectly fine. I mean, your account is kind of like that, where sometimes you get that stuff, but not to worry. So we have that good relationship where she understands that I'm not trying to do anything illegal, and understands that my income from web development, comes in sporadically. Sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's a little. So anyway, that's the type of relationship we had. So then we got into so that was a situation that happened months ago. But anyway, back to the conversation I was having when setting it up. I just wanted to mention to her that because of what happened before, I said I'm going to have a lot of money coming into this account because I'm using it to pay taxes on my gains. And she was like, well, as long as you're not structuring. And she started talking about structuring, and I get that whole thing. And she's kind of talking about like the patterns that compliance may look for, or the federal government may flag accounts for. And I got it, but the energy was just a little weird because of that joke I made about gambling. But anyway, we got it all done, squared away. I had the account, and so the account should have showed up when I log in. I have all my accounts are in the same account, so I could see them all and transfer money between them. And so I was waiting for that to happen, and I went and set it up on Friday before the holiday weekend. So of course it didn't show up. And then Tuesday, so 2 days ago, I checked and it still wasn't there. And then yesterday, on my way to record my other podcast, I stopped by there, had to deposit some money, and I saw my account rep, and she said, "Oh, compliance called me about you this morning." I was like, "Oh, what about?" And she's like, "Well, they wanted to know if you were trading Bitcoin." And I didn't answer the question, but I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And she was like, "Well, I just told them that you were doing personal investing. It could be stocks, could be whatever." And then she's like, "Are you trading Bitcoin?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I am, but I just want to reassure you, and I'm sorry if the way we left off last week was kind of odd and awkward. I just felt the energy was a little weird. But I want to assure you that everything I'm doing is 100% legal, and I'm just getting the bank account because I have to pay taxes on what I'm doing." And so she was like, "Oh, no, I know." And the way it kind of ended was that it seemed to be taken care of. It seemed that she wasn't worried about it. And a few hours later, I got a call from her, and she's like, "I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but the act of trading Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is actually a restricted act." And that's what she kept saying. And I was like, "Well, is that like in your bank? Is that a bank policy? Is it like, I mean, is that like a nationwide bank thing that I didn't know about for some reason?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know if you're going to have trouble getting a bank account with another bank, but I'm just telling you, what I was told is that it's restricted." I was like, "Okay, well, I mean, I get it. I understand, but it doesn't make sense to me because now, I mean, people are trading Bitcoin futures and it's becoming more mainstream and it's legal." And she was like, I know. It seems like, well, we're just not caught up yet. Like we're, basically they're still thinking that only hackers have Bitcoin. And of course, I mean, I guess I wasn't surprised, but I have to say that I think the only reason why this happened was because I put crypto in the name, stupidly. And because I think other than that, there probably wouldn't have been flags put on my account, and it probably would have gotten through compliance. And I've talked to a few people who have cashed out a large amount of money, like over 100,000 from Coinbase, and they haven't got in trouble with their bank. And I mean, again, I've cashed out a little bit of mine, and my bank hasn't said anything. Like I bought with my bank, a bank, bank wire, and I've cashed out, and they haven't said anything. So I have to think that they're not actively watching or flagging transactions, at least in personal accounts. But she did also say something about a business account, and so maybe what I gather is, okay, so don't put crypto in the name. And there's something weird with business accounts and crypto. So I guess that's off limits right now. And just don't say any. I mean, again, I'm trying to do things 100% legal. So the way I'm trying to approach this is to be totally upfront with the bank when I go in, basically spreading up my papers saying these are, I have all my tax documents. I have everything can be traced. It's not anonymous. All of my transactions are here. I am not money laundering. I'm trying to do this 100% legal. I'm just trying to pay my taxes. And they're not allowing me to just pay my taxes. And I can sometimes feel my ego roar up, and I'm just like, fine, F them. I'm not paying my taxes. If I can't pay my taxes, I'm just not going to pay them. But again, I'm trying to do everything legal. So then I spent hours searching for the names of the most Bitcoin friendly or crypto friendly banks out there in the US. Whether they're just online banks or branches, I don't care. I was just trying to find information on it. It seems to be there's some other people also looking for the same information, but there's no information to be had out there. Like nobody has figured out what Bitcoin friendly banks are. No banks have seized the moment yet and you look at the stock market. Whenever a company announces that they're doing something with blockchain, the stock goes up, huge amounts. So I can only think that if a bank became Bitcoin friendly, it would get so much business. It would be so good for business. But I think right now they're just waiting around because they still think that it's unregulated. To a point it is, but also to a point it already is regulated. Every exchange that I've gone to, I've submitted the know your customer verification. So all of my data and my face shots, holding my ID, smiling, and I did one with a funny face and it actually got rejected. All of that is there. Like I'm doing everything that's required of me and it's illegal. So why can't I just spend my effing money the way I want? I know that's how a lot of other people feel out there. So now I'm on a quest to find the friendliest or the most Bitcoin friendly or crypto friendly banks. And so I've sent out a bunch of tweets on a bunch of banks that I felt are contenders for my business, and I'm waiting to hear back. And so if you guys are interested in that information, you could go to @CryptoBuyology on Twitter and look at my tweets out to these banks and see their responses. I will also be creating a summary, be tweeting about this, and I've also considered at some point making a website that will list out all the banks and almost like these cryptocurrency calendars where people can post events that are happening, upcoming, and with the proof, and people can vote yes or no if it's legit or not. I've considered making a website kind of like that where people can post their proof on asking their banks, and we can collaborate as a community and crowdsource this information together because this is going to benefit everybody. And if there's a large storm of people that are willing to do this, we can move a market and we could get a bank to become crypto friendly just by demand. So I don't want to disclose too much information of what I found out right now because my research is incomplete. But one to look at, and unfortunately it's restricted, is the oh man, now I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's the Automobile Association Bank or whatever. But it's really only for vets or family of vets, and they actually invested in Coinbase. So by default, they're crypto friendly. But you have to have a parent that is using them that was in the military, or your spouse or you have had to be in the military to use them. So I would say definitely look to them if you can. But if you can't, again, I'm going to be compiling a list based on what I've figured out. And go ahead and read the tweets and the responses. I just started getting responses in a few hours ago, And I mean, some of it is funny. I feel like I have phrased the question pretty clear, but it's clear that the people on these Twitter accounts don't really understand what I'm saying, because they're responding back like no, you cannot purchase things with Bitcoin. But I'm like what? I'm asking, if a customer has a checking account with you, can they purchase Bitcoin or sell Bitcoin, and would that violate policy and subject them to an account suspension or closure? That's what I'm trying to ask. But I'm getting all these weird responses. It's kind of entertaining. But so anyway, stay tuned for that information. If you know your bank is crypto friendly, please drop me a tweet. I wanna collaborate and get this information out there. Now, just because your bank has not caught you in your transactions, that doesn't mean they're crypto friendly. Because like I said, in the past I've done crypto transactions and my bank didn't say anything. So I just thought, okay, well, I just get a bank account. I didn't think it was a big deal. And now I realize that they have a policy against it. So that's what I'm saying. Just because nobody is saying anything to you yet does not mean that you're in the clear. And I'm not saying that you should change what you're doing or you should switch banks if you find out that they have a policy against it. I mean, that's up to you. But all I'm saying is just be aware, because I think most of these banks are not checking these kinds of things on a regular basis. Otherwise, with the thousands and thousands of people, I mean, I don't know if it's in the millions yet, but thousands of people that are in the U.S., you'd think there'd be more than just a handful of people saying that their accounts got closed, like mine. So, and in recent news, there was that letter floating around of that smaller bank that sent that guy a letter saying that they were going to close his account if he continues to buy or interact with Bitcoin transactions. I think my case is a little different because I just opened my account and it never got through compliance. It took a few days because of the holiday, but it never got through. So I'm not like complaining and being like, oh, I'm a victim. I'm just saying that this is happening out there, and I think this is probably a policy that is that at least 80% of the banks out there have, and there's probably some banks that still don't even know what it is, but trying to compile a list so everybody can benefit, and if you can help out, that'd be great. Again, I appreciate your time. Again, this is just Down and Dirty podcast, just trying to get it out there and get you the information, and I'll try as hard as I can to do more of these. But I hope that when I do them, you get a lot of benefit out of them, and that satisfies me. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Stay cool.